Hey everyone, Evan Varsamis here, founder and CEO of Gadget Flow. Today we have Narek from TCF joining this webinar. He's going to be talking all about the successful campaigns that he has been launching with his team for the past few years. And he's going to be revealing a lot of secrets around the pre-launch process, how to get to 6 figures, how to get to 7 figures. He has worked with tons of campaigns the past few years, including one of his own. So Narek, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. So yeah, feel free to introduce yourself.
So I'm Narek. I'm the founder and CEO of the Crowdfunding Formula, or TCF. So we are a crowdfunding marketing agency supporting creators to launch 6- and 7-figure campaigns.
Great. So how do let's start from scratch. Let's start from zero pretty much. How did you get involved with crowdfunding?
Yeah, it's pretty much like classics. So I failed my own campaign, raised $15 in total. So then I started to dig deeper to understand like why it doesn't really work.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out that, the mobile applications, which was my campaign, totally not working at all in all the crowdfunding platforms.
Yeah.
So, but at that time I started to, do interviews, ask creators what you guys do, you do differently, how you succeed. And I gathered so many information that I published this info in a book and put it on Amazon, and it became the #1 bestseller in crowdfunding category.
Wow.
And at that time, I haven't done any crowdfunding campaign at all, to be honest. So I started to receive a lot of inquiries from people who are starting their campaigns and asking me questions, how to do this, how to do that, etc., etc. And I was opening my list of all these interviews and saying, oh, you should do this, oh, you need to try this, etc., etc. And to my big surprise, one of the campaigns whom I was supporting raised $120,000. So I thought, oh, this is really working. And I started.
When was that? When was that? What year was that?
The name of the campaign was Adaptalux. It was a lighting, photography lighting device. Mm-hmm. Very, very cool campaign with a very cool founder. So many years ago, like five or 6 years ago or so.
Wow. Okay. That's crazy. Okay. And then, you came up with the idea of TCF. Walk us through the whole process. How did that happen? What's your main focus today? And how do you, ended up helping creators?
Yeah. So, we started from consulting. I had a training course. Then I started, to put as much information in this training as possible. But then, we said, okay, let's try the managed campaign and let's see what happens if we fully are in charge of all the management process, because it's a really hard work and it really requires a lot of time and resources. So we started to manage the campaigns, and little by little, we started to see that we are, getting some kind of good successes. One of our big successes was Volterman campaign. Mm-hmm. And we raised $1 million during the lifetime of the campaign, and then the campaign ended with $3 million. So after that, we started to concentrate heavily on the campaigns to raise 6 or 7 campaign figures.
Got it. Okay, so Volterman was your third campaign, right? At that time,
it was not the third campaign, to be honest, because I had a couple of other smaller campaigns before Volterman. But starting from Volterman, we started to do it in a more structured way. Mm-hmm. To put some kind of structured resources and methods in the campaign management. And basically starting from Volterman, we started to be involved much more in the whole crowdfunding processes and do it right, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my point is that it took you quite a few campaigns, quite a few lunches to get to 7 figures. Even for
absolutely.
you, the guy who wrote a book
absolutely.
and became #1 on Amazon. That's my point, that it's not an easy process.
Absolutely,
great. So,
it's very difficult.
Yeah, I bet. So when it comes down to crowdfunding, we're gonna be talking a lot about the pre-launch phase, because it sounds like you guys have mastered that. But before we get into that, do you feel like there's a secret sauce when it comes down to raising 6 and 7 figures?
I would say yes, there is, and the secret sauce is the preparation, right? Mm-hmm. The secret sauce is the preparation. There is no one system, one formula that fits to all the campaigns, right? Because the campaigns are very specific, and I'll talk a little later about that on what you need to take attention to. But one thing that is common to all the big successes that we had is the preparation. Yeah, whenever you are preparing right, whenever you are doing your homework, whenever you know who is your audience and what your positioning angles are, then everything works pretty well after the launch. But in general, every campaign is very specific, and you need to understand, the strategies and the differences between the campaigns. And one thing that is working for one campaign might absolutely not work for another campaign.
Exactly. You nailed it, I think. So last question, I guess, which is, from the generic side, do you think that creators can, understand or follow the best practices or figure out the secret sauce and do everything on their own? I mean, from my perspective, we've done a few webinars in the past year at Gadget Flow, and what I've been stressing is that, yeah, for sure, most creators can do it on their own, but it comes down to the resources, the amount of time that you want to invest, and then it comes down to percentages, right? So would you agree that creators have higher chances of succeeding in raising 6 to 7 figures by working with a company like yours, as an example, compared to doing it on their own, even if they figure out the secret sauce?
It's hard to say, to be honest, what is the best way. But I can tell one thing, that's definitely they are able to do it, but they have to know that it will take a lot of time and a lot of resources from them, right? It's not easy. They need to have a team. That's for sure. That's number one thing that we recommend to everybody who is going to start a campaign on their own. So we're recommending start from the team, right? You don't know where to start from the team. Gather your team. This is going to be hard. Some people has to take charge of the social media. Some people have to be in charge of advertising, support, sales, influencer marketing, this design. So it's going to be difficult. And if you have the team, if you have a time, if your team is ready to invest in themselves, which means that they need to get some knowledge, they need to get some experience and expertise by learning from others, then it's possible. But you need to understand, the price of it. If you're ready, then definitely, why not?
Exactly. So you're, at the end of the day, you're playing with percentages. That's how I see it. All right, let's jump straight into the pre-launch process. So you want to break down like the entire pre-launch process for us, like perhaps in steps, so we can start from there?
Yeah, sure. I'll try to, tell a couple of things that we do in here at TCF, and how do we prepare, right? So here's the thing, like in the preparation process, like we pay attention to 3 main domains, right? So 3 main areas that we are heavily concentrated and focused on are collecting subscribers and nurturing the subscribers in the right way, collecting a database of influencers and PR journalists, and then creating an awesome video. So these 3 areas and these 3 domains are our main focus. So for the subscriber side, what we do is that we not only collect email subscribers, but we also try to have different angles and different channels of information to reach out to those subscribers, right? So like, for example, the process will look like this. We are collecting their emails in a simple landing page, and then we would send a link to join our chatbots, right? So then we have 2 channels to reach out to the same people. Then we would send a link to join our Facebook group, right? Then we have our third angle. So when something doesn't work in the launch process, we have our reserve kind of areas, reserve channels to deliver information to the guys who are interested into learning about this.
That's insane.
The product, yeah.
That's insane.
And then others, and there are some others as well. Like, so we would, include the list into advertising. We'll try to, send them to follow our Facebook page, etc., etc. So we'll try to, have different angles and different channels to the same people, to be sure that this is going to work in the launch process, and the information is definitely going to be delivered to them, right?
So I think that
Another thing, yeah.
diversifying all these channels sounds like it's key to your success so far. Can we expand just a bit in one of these things that you've mentioned? So, you know, on average, let's say if you were to just gather email subscribers, you would get approximately like 5 to 10% conversion rate, you know, in your first few days. That sounds about right. So by having an extra channel such as, you know, Facebook Messenger, that doubles the percentage, or it's a 20-30% higher based on your experience?
You know, it's difficult to say, to be honest. It's very relative. It's very relative in terms that there are, you know, many creators who put a lot of attention on the size and on the percentages, but we rather pay a lot of attention on the quality of the subscribers, right? So we might not have big lists into the pre-launch campaigns, but those lists has to be like very highly qualified lists, and this quality pays it off, right? At the end of the day, when you have like a really high quality kind of list and subscribers who are really ready to invest and back your campaign, you know, you're gonna get like really high percentages. High conversion rates. It might, you know, reach up to 20-30%, etc.
That's fantastic. I think that this is going to be really valuable to whoever is listening and is about to launch a crowdfunding campaign, because you're innovating in a sense, right? You don't just rely on email subscribers. You try to figure out more ways to reach the same people over and over again, and hoping that, you know, instead of just sending an email and hoping that they're going to open it, that it's not going to land to the spam folder, you're just, you know, reaching out through Messenger, you're reaching out through the fan page organically as well. That's insane. That's so good. That's so smart, actually.
And I can open up the, you know, another secret, which works super well for us. Another channel on how to reach out to your subscribers. If all these things doesn't work, there's a thing that definitely works. So, and here's that thing. We are sending them calendar invites. Subscribers. Yeah,
that's crazy.
So we are sending calendar invites to the people, and, you know, automatically they are getting messages like 10 minutes before or 30 minutes before the campaign starts that this campaign is starting.
Wow.
And this works, you know, super well. And with this way, we are like getting a super high percentages on conversion sites, because whatever you do, some of your messages, some of your emails will land in the promotion folder, some will land in spam folder. Whatever you do, right? And that's a big portion of your subscribers that you're, you know, paying money for are some kind of lost and not reachable. And it's a win-win situation if you are able to win to these people, to reach to these people, right? Because whatever you're doing, you're delivering them information, and at the end of the day, it's themselves who are deciding whether to back your campaign or not. So you're not forcing anything to them. But if they expressed an initial interest to you know, to learn about your campaign when you're launching, then you need to find some ways. It's your kind of homework to find a way on how to deliver the information to those guys.
Yeah, that's like crazy. That's a great hack, actually. A lot of people are gonna make good use of it. So, all right, let's talk about, you know, two different scenarios. You want to raise $100,000. You want to raise $1 million. What are some of the core differences when it comes down to the strategy? But also, please feel free to walk us through the actual numbers. Like, what kind of an investment are we talking about? Upfront fees and everything from the pre-launch phase, right? Like, subscriber-wise, how do you get to $1 million raised? How do you get to $100,000 raised? What are the core differences?
Okay, so you know, there is one big misconception, I would say, when I'm reading all the articles about crowdfunding and all the suggestions. There is one misconception where people relate number of subscribers a lot to the success, right? To the number of figures that you raise at the end of the day. This is, you know, this is not that true, to be honest, to relate everything to the subscriber side, because there are so many other things that should work for your campaigns. And you know, in a typical crowdfunding campaigns, when you see it, there is this U-shaped curve, right?
Right.
When there's this big launch in the beginning, and then big number of funding in the end, and there's nothing in between really. So and this is why a lot of people are relying are relating the success of their campaign to the number of subscribers that they have, and not nurturing and not trying to understand a lot of other strategies that might work for them. If you check out our campaigns at TCF, you will see that almost all of our campaigns, we don't have any U-shaped campaigns. All of our campaigns are like this. There are some spikes and decreases along the way, but it's even increasing. It's increasing along the way because we're learning a lot. We're experimenting a lot on what to do, what kind of channels to nurture to gather traffic, right? So what I want to say that then don't concentrate too much on increasing the number of your subscribers.
Got it.
At the end of the day, it all depends on their quality, as I said, and it's not the cost per subscriber that is going to pay it off, right? In some cases, we're not concentrating on the cost per subscribers at all, to be honest. Before, we were concentrating, let's have leads which are below $1, or let's have leads who are 50 cents, etc. Currently, we are only concentrated to get leads who are opening our emails and have high click rate, right? This is our metric. This is what we are concentrated on. We had different campaigns where in some campaigns we had big number of leads, up to 20,000 or so. And we had campaign like one of our last campaigns, Pico, which we finished 1 week ago, I think, and it raised $1.5 million. So for Pico, we had 2,000 subscribers. Only two. We started the campaign with 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers, really, and we had a really strong launch, and we kept the momentum and started to increase along the way, right? You can install this bigger cake extension and check out the funding curve, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So again, don't and one thing that you can take into consideration when thinking how many subscribers should I collect, right? Because this is the number one question everybody asks me personally, okay, so is 5,000 enough? Is 10,000 enough? Is 1,000 enough? So one thing that is important here is that we are relating it to the average ticket price, right? If the average ticket price of your product is pretty high, like if you're selling an e-bike and it costs $2,000 or $3,000. We had an e-bike which cost $4,000, by the way. And we found some ways on how to do the marketing. So the higher your ticket price is, the more leads you need to collect, because people need more time to think and to make this decision of backing the project, right?
That's right.
That's the thing. And the lower your ticket price is, if it's $100, if it's $50, etc., you don't need to collect that many leads, to be honest, because people are making decisions emotionally and on the spot, on the way. They can decide to back the project on the way, and you don't need to collect huge number of leads, start nurturing it, and then you'll definitely lose, even with all the tactics that some amount of your lists are never hearing that you're launch and that you're live. So
that's true.
The best strategy in here is that taking into account your average ticket price, and based on that, understand how many leads you will need. Don't increase it too much if your ticket size is low. Right, and and try to get some of traffic.
Got it. When it comes down though to 6-figure versus 7 figures, what are the core differences? If a customer comes to you and say, Narek, I want to work with your company, I want to raise $250,000, $250,000, or I want to raise $2 million. What changes when it comes down to their approach? Is it about scaling everything, or is it you do some things in a different way?
So I think that will be different for a creator, is that if somebody comes and tells, I want to raise $250,000, we wouldn't take that campaign.
Okay, that's good to know.
Because we're only working with the campaigns that have the potential, or at least we see the potential to raise more than $1 million, right? We are very selective on the campaign side, and only we're working to raise $1 million because we are devoting a really big team to the campaigns.
Yeah.
But there are definitely differences, right? There are definitely differences. First of all, at the end of the day, you need to understand whether your product has this potential, has this amount of audience in the crowdfunding industry specifically, right? There are products who are very niche focused, and even if you do the best marketing, even if you get the best channels utilized, you just can't raise millions of dollars because there are just not that many people around there,
right? That's true.
And one thing that differs $1 million campaigns to six-figure campaigns is that for $1 million campaigns, you just increase the number of impression and increase the number of people who learn about your campaign. And if the amount of people is big enough, like if there's a big audience for your campaign and you are able to reach to those audiences, then there's a high chance you're gonna cross the $1 million mark and have a really big successful campaign. For that you need to utilize every possible channel, every possible thing, every possible hack. Do whatever you do to reach out to your customers.
I can only imagine. Yeah. Is there a formula that you guys are using though when it comes down to the investment that you're making during the pre-launch phase compared to the amount that you're looking to raise with this particular campaign? Because there's a difference between $5 million and $1 million or $800,000, right? So how do you define? Is there some sort of like an equation that you guys have figured out or have been using from someone else?
On average, I can tell a couple of averages and some numbers in here. So on average, it goes down to 10 to 15% from the amount that you're raising. On us it's like that for our campaigns. So if you want to raise $1 million, you need to have from $100,000 to $150,000 as your marketing budget,
and that includes video, Facebook ads, and everything, right?
The breakdown will be like the following. So if let me bring an example for $100,000 marketing budget, and for us we would break down it in the following way. So 75% of it goes to advertising on Google and on Facebook mostly, right? Because we're getting most of the results from there. And then the other 30,000 is separated between the influencer marketing, PR, some paid media, etc., etc. So it's for us it's like 30 and 70%. 70% spent on advertising, and then the 30% is spent on very different channels. Like we're very heavily utilizing the influencer marketing channel. We have a big partners, and this is I think this is an unutilized channel in crowdfunding overall. Very few people try to utilize influencers on their crowdfunding campaigns, and one reason for that is that it's very difficult to measure measure their impact.
Right?
It's very difficult to measure. But if
any hacks for that? Any hacks for that?
Yes, of course. Yeah, there are hacks for almost everything, to be honest.
That's
so one thing that we do with influencer marketing is the following, to get the most out of it, right? So we're using our links when we are giving these links to influencer, and they have to share it with their audiences, right? So these links, we embed a couple of pixels in there from different social medias, right? So this is the hack, that it's not only the Facebook pixel in there. It's Facebook, it's Google, it's Pinterest, it's Snapchat, it might be even Twitter. So when people click on these links, they are redirected to our campaign page, but meanwhile all these pixels are fired, and we are able to retarget this audience in very many different social media, right? So somebody might see our ad in Pinterest, and this will be a very hot audience, right? Because otherwise, if you start to doing advertising in Pinterest, it's super difficult, right? It's very difficult to reach out to your exact audiences in other social media other than Facebook or Google. So this way we are able to utilize almost all the social channels that have pixels, because we are able to to get to these people in different areas.
Got it. That's so helpful. So you're using a JavaScript redirect, you're injecting all those pixels with a 301 redirect, and then you can retarget them. That's so smart. That's so smart. So when it comes down to a kind of a side question, right? Like when it comes down to Kickstarter versus Indiegogo, obviously Indiegogo offers you the pixel option. There are some hacks that you can try on Kickstarter, but it's not 100% functioning, let's just say right now. So I know for a fact that most of your campaigns, if not all of them, have started with a Kickstarter campaign. And then you later on, you do an in-demand. Have you ever thought about launching first on Indiegogo?
Yeah, definitely. We had many campaigns, to be honest, which were launched on Indiegogo, and they exceeded $1 million.
Okay.
So we had a campaign this year, Siga watches. This was launched on Indiegogo, crossed $1 million. Volterman was an Indiegogo campaign, again, crossed $1 million. And we had several campaigns. We had these fuel e-bikes also launched on Indiegogo, and they also crossed 1 million. So at the end of the day, creators should know that platforms are not working on their own, right? They're just supporting channels, really great channels, to be honest, but they are supporting all the platforms, both Kickstarter and Indiegogo. I'll speak about a couple of differences now, but all of them have their specificities and they have their audiences, right? It also depends a lot on the product. So if you have an e-bike campaign, then Indiegogo has a really, really warm audience for e-bikes. For some reason, it doesn't work that well on Kickstarter.
Yeah. Got it. So how does a creator, though, figure out what you just said? I mean, you're an agency, you're data-oriented, you have a lot of different sources, to actually get these numbers out. But when it comes down to, just a creator who's doing a campaign on his own, he's not going for tens of millions, he's just going for 60,000 or 80,000. How do they know whether Kickstarter is better or Indiegogo is better for their market?
Yeah, so the easiest way is to do research, to check out the campaigns that were launched previously prior to you on Kickstarter and on Indiegogo, and check out their success rates, right? So if you see many e-bikes on Indiegogo, it means if you're an e-bike creator, this means your e-bike, there's a high chance that it would do better on Indiegogo. And then if you see some kind of campaigns like pet-related products on Kickstarter, then there's a high chance that there's a pet audience, which is a very specific audience, right, on Kickstarter, and then it makes sense, to go and launch it there. So one thing that is very simple, to just go check out the campaigns, check out the bigger cake or kick track extensions to see the fundings. Check out how smooth is the funding is there. This is also one hack that we were recommending. So if you're seeing like many spikes, many increase and decrease, it means that the audience is not that relevant to the product, and creators are doing some promotions along the way, trying to push it, right, to get more traffic. But if you see more or less like a smooth funding curve, it means that the audience itself is ready to buy the product. So it's a good sign that there is already a good amount of audience in this specific platform.
That's great. That's another great hack right there. All right. So aside from gathering subscribers, what else are you focusing on, I guess, when it comes down to the pre-launch process, from the video to PR, and what's the weight as well that you're putting on each of those things? Like, is PR, for example, let's start with PR. Is PR like mandatory? Is it recommended? And if so, what kind of weights are we talking about and resources?
Yeah. So it all depends on the resources you have, and mostly I'm speaking about the team, right? PR is really very difficult, really. Like, this is one of the hardest things to utilize correctly in the crowdfunding process. And I know that a lot of people don't pay attention on PR at all, because for PR you would need like 3 to 4 people who are dedicated only to this PR domain. They are gathering very relevant, contact information of journalists and editors, and then they are starting to pitch, and then they are changing their pitch, trying to do some hacks, trying to do experiment, use some creativity when reaching to the journalists and editors, etc., etc. It's really hard. It's very hard. You need to have a specific team whose job is to do all this tough job, right? So PR.
Does it worth paying a company tens of thousands of dollars for PR?
Not really, not really. We are not a big fan of paying big amounts to the journalists and the articles. We are mostly utilizing it for free, and I can definitely tell you that it works if you do it right. It's probably the hardest thing to do in all these crowdfunding activities, but it works, right? You are able to reach out to the TechCrunch journalist, to the Verge journalist, to CNET journalist, and they would require a sample most probably. So if you have a sample and you are able to send it out to them and they are satisfied with your product, they know that there's a prototype, so a lot of bugs are acceptable in here. But it is possible to land an article for free in the highest in the prestigious media out there, like in Mashable, in TechCrunch, in The Verge, in all kind of media. But you have to understand that this is a tough process. This is a research, first of all. You need to get a different contact information of journalists. You need their LinkedIn, you need their email, you need their everything, right? You need to learn a lot from your audience. You need to understand who are your relevant journalists and how to pitch them, what they really look for. And we do a lot of experiments. Our PR department is one of our most creative departments in the team.
It has
doing
to be.
a lot of creativity. Doing a lot of testings on the email side to get their attention, then on how to convince them, etc.
If a creator wants to, they have, let's just say, their own team of 2 or 3 people, and they want to try experimenting, let's just say, I guess, reaching out to some journalists, reporters, and so on. How many usually weeks before you go live on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, you should actually focus on that? Are we talking about a month before, 2 months before, a few days before? What's a good ratio here?
So typically it works like this on us. We're starting the research a couple of months before, definitely. We are researching for 1 or 2 months to gathering a good amount of contact information. Like I'm speaking about from 2,000 to 3,000. If you have 2,000 to 3,000 of emails of some specific niche journalists, then you're good to go to the campaign. Then a week or 10 days before starting the campaign, we're starting to reaching them out, sending out the samples to see if they are interested. We're sending them the samples to see, we're trying, it's good to have some times for them to try it out and see whether they like it or not. And then I would say 10 days prior starting the campaign, you need to start nurturing the list that you have, the PR list, and starting to get into contact with the journalists.
Got it.
But the peaks, to be honest, starts when we're launching the campaign and we are already 1 week after the launch, right?
Because they want to see the kind of traction that this campaign is getting, right?
Exactly. So journalists are also not experts in everywhere. Let's say they are also looking for tractions. They are also looking for crowd effects. They're also looking for how well you're doing, right? They are also impressed with the numbers that you are able to raise in the first couple of days. This is one thing, and then their audiences are also kind of human beings, so they are also affected on all these factors. And it's good that if you're landing an article on TechCrunch, for example, right? It's good that you land this article 1 week after you start your campaign, than just exactly in the launch day, because in the launch day your campaign is not that attractive in the sense that you are not raising that amount of money. So we're trying to get into contact with them and trying to enhance our relationship with the journalists. But the heavy pitch starts after we are already good with the funding.
Yeah, totally agree. That's another smart approach right there. Video production, are you guys doing anything differently? I've seen campaigns spending up to like $30,000-$40,000 for just a video. I'm not a big fan of that, to be honest. You can get this job done with $5,000-$10,000 easily. When it comes down to the approach though, is it something specific that you guys are focusing on, or it really depends on the product, whether it's going to be a funny video or a corporate style video or a commercial style video?
I can share a couple of learnings that we have learned throughout the way. Before a couple of years ago, I would say there are two main factors that you need to consider in the video. It's virality and the product presentation, right? Now I'm only focused on the product presentation, to be honest. I put the virality and the humor a little aside. It is important. It is important to keep people watching until the end of the video. So you need to have some humoristic approach. You need to have some interactions, etc., etc. But the main thing you have to concentrate is the product presentation from the angles that resonates a lot with your audiences. Right. So before, you need to do your homework and you need to understand who is your audience and why they're gonna back your project. This might seem like very simple questions, but we employ a whole bunch of data and processes to come to that questions, right? It's a really big fight with always with our video production team on positioning, on audience, on what you need to put first, what you need to put second, etc. But at the end of the day, you need to understand that people who are coming to your campaign page, and this is the main page where they see the video, what they want to know is what your product is about and how can they benefit about that, right? It's not about bringing the customers to your campaign page. So this is why it's not that important to have like super viral video. I have seen a video, one of my friends had one video which had 120 million views.
Wow.
120 million views. I'm not exaggerating at all.
That's crazy.
And the campaign raised $30,000.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that means that they have a super viral video, and the video was super cool. The video was super cool, and but it was not working. It was not, pinpointing the pain points of the audience, right? It's not showing the benefits. It's raising a lot of questions, and it was super fun. Everybody was sharing it. But nobody was going to buy with this type of videos. So one learning that we have at TCF is that product presentation is the most important thing, and it depends on the product to understand how to present it correctly in the right way. You need to make it emotional. If the video is not, if there are no emotions, the video is not working at all. So one thing that is still working, and I think it will work forever, is that people are buying with their emotions. And if you are not able to evoke some kind of emotions when people are watching to your videos, then they just close the campaign and go find some other things.
No, I agree 100%. Emotion plays a big role when it comes to video and photography as well, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Social media. Are you guys a big fan of, are you fans, I guess, of managing like social media accounts? I'm not talking about like the page reach and everything. I'm talking about the organic aspect, because I've seen like, if not thousands, definitely hundreds of creators, right? Like trying to take advantage of the organic reach of Instagram and Facebook. So they launch like their own Facebook fun page, let's just say 4 or 5 weeks before they go live. And they're just hoping for the best. They're gathering like a couple likes, few tens of fans and everything. Do you think it's working? Do you think that it's worth the investment in terms of time in this case?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. The thing is the following: it is working, but again, as everything, you need to understand the basics on how to utilize that channel, right? We are really big fans of social media, and we are doing a lot of things. I'll tell you now what we're specifically doing with the social media. So starting just a couple of weeks before the campaign is the wrongest approach, of course. It is the wrongest approach, and if you just don't have a page, just don't pay a lot of attention to it, because it won't work, right? You need to start it as early as possible, like at least a couple of months before, at least like 3-4 months before, starting to gather your audience, starting to get some people who are into your product. And then what we are doing with our social media accounts, we are not only posting only banners, only commercial posts, etc. So another misconception for many people is that social media is only about posting your photos and banners, and that's it. But you can do like a lot of things with the social media. Like you need to post You need to create engagements. You need to do some interactive posts. You need to ask questions. You need to educate them. We are posting some infographics. We are posting some viral videos, some life hacks, some educational posts, some contests. Like, for example, one of our campaigns, we had this Bristly campaign. It was a dog toothbrush.
Yeah, I remember
it's
that.
funny, but dogs love brushing their actually don't laugh, but before Bristly, but it was a great product to help dog parents brush teeth of their dogs. So for Bristly, what we did with the social media, and it worked perfectly, was we created a contest where we asked dog parents to post their photos with their dogs, and we created this viral hashtag my dog like me, and it turns out a lot of creators looked like their dogs.
Wow.
or vice versa. So a lot of parents, sorry, and it was very funny. It went viral. We got in a matter of weeks, we got about 50,000 people joining this hashtag. When you search on Instagram or Facebook, I suppose they would be even more now. And a lot of influencers. So when we see that this is working, we started to utilize this with the influencer marketing and ask our partner influencers to share it with their audiences. So it take over from there, and it became a really viral challenge throughout the campaign. And you can imagine how much traffic we got from there, right?
That's crazy. It went viral. Obviously,
it went viral. One thing that is good to understand, not only in social media, in everywhere, right? You need to put more resources on things that are working.
Exactly.
Right? This is the key. So you need to try experimenting a lot. You need to do a lot of things, and when you see something is working, like when we saw this challenge is working, we started to put more resources. We started to promote posts. We started to invite influencers to do the influencer posts, etc., etc. We even published a couple of articles, right? So because we saw that this is working, because we saw there is this virality coefficient among all this, and we understood, okay, guys, we need to pay more attention in here. One thing that is common in here at TCF is that we need to fail a lot, and we are encouraging. We are like in some companies, people are getting fired for mistakes, for their failures. In our company, people are fired for not making mistakes. So we have even a quarterly meetings where we say, okay, you need to have at least 10 big mistakes, 10 big failures. If somebody is not making 10 big failures, it means that
they're not trying.
They're not trying. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
This works in crowdfunding because even with our experience, we never know what will work for this campaign or that campaign.
Yeah. No, I think that applies to everything, to be honest, Narek. Fail and fail fast. You'll learn a bunch from it. Cool. That has been fantastic. A lot of stuff that we've discussed today is going to be very useful to most creators. Anything else specific that you want to share around the pre-launch process? Anything that creators should be aware of? I know we've talked about pretty much everything today, and like when it comes down to working on your campaign, at the end of the day, it's recommended to have some sort of like a checklist. If you're not super familiar with the industry, if it's your first campaign, if you're not working with a company or an agency or a consultant, definitely make sure that you guys download a checklist. There are hundreds of checklists. There's a Gadget Flow checklist as well out there. But when it comes down to pre-launch, I think we covered everything today. Don't you agree?
Yeah, we covered a lot. There are a lot of things, and I'm trying to tell a lot of specifics to make as much make it as useful as possible, because I remember myself when I was trying to do crowdfunding, and I couldn't find a lot of resources and a lot of specifics on what to do, what buttons to push, what hacks are there, etc., etc. And this is why I failed. So we are very open. We are sharing a lot of hacks on our blog, and every week we are publishing all the hacks that we are finding. So we are pretty open on opening all the secrets. And I have a couple of things on my list as well, which I wanted also to to tell. Maybe they for sure will be useful for a lot of people if they are serious and they want to raise a lot of funds. So one thing that just a couple of hacks. I know we don't have that much time. So one hack to to Facebook ads, right? So you know, Facebook ads are one of the most important channels, and there are a lot of hacks for Facebook. I'll just try to say just a couple stuff. So one thing to get your Facebook ads in front of your competitors, in front of your competitor audiences, like people who are, imagine people who want to buy a dog product, right? They're not only checking your campaign, or they're not checking your project. They are going into different campaigns. They're checking what is there. They even might go to Amazon. They go to, you know, to Shopify, etc., etc. But they are interested into this category, right? So what we are doing, we're creating lookalike audiences from not people who purchased your product, but from people who reach to this add to cart place. Yeah,
fantastic.
So this is a great hack, because with these lookalikes, Facebook understands that this guy who is, you know, going and putting add to cart, but he's not purchasing yet. Yeah, so he hasn't purchased yet. He's just putting add to carts, and he's just about to purchase. And if you create an add to cart audience, a lookalike audience from your own audience, you are able to reach out to a bigger audience who are about to do the purchase.
It's about the intent. I love that. That's another great hack right there.
So it works fantastically well. Overall, the lookalike audiences, I think, are working really well. And another hack is that you need to create as many lookalike audiences as possible. And your initial and if you change your initial custom audience even by small amount, like imagine you have 1,000 bakers and you want to create a lookalike audience out of that. And if you add another one, like if it's 1,001 baker, your lookalike audience might be totally different lookalike audience, right? So you need to create as many lookalike audiences as possible and try to nurture them. Another thing is that this is probably everybody knows that Facebook limits the reach of the banner if the text is more than 20%. Everybody knows it, but there's a cool hack on how to overcome it. Right?
Oh, I'm all ears.
In reality, you can put as many text on your banner as you wish. You can make it like the whole text.
Okay.
One thing Facebook algorithms take into account is not the amount of text on the banner, but the amount of contrast this text has with the background. So if you have white background and black text, it will block it. But if you have gray background and a little darker gray with your text, it will allow it.
That's crazy.
It's pretty much visible. You can have, you know, yellow banner with the orange text, and you can put whatever you want in there. It won't be blocked. And
so it has to look like a gradient in a sense. That's insane. I hope there's no one from Facebook here today listening to this. I'm not gonna like admit to this webinar anyone with an ad Facebook email address.
Whoever is listening to this, you need to do it as soon as possible, because you know a lot of people by Facebook might learn about this and they'll take this down. So use it as soon as possible, guys.
It sounds like it sounds like it's very hard though to take it down, because they're obviously using deep learning algorithms when it comes to that. And you know, it's an automated process. It's not like they have someone reviewing manually the text ads. So I think that this should work at least for the next few months, for sure.
Exactly. We have another couple of months for sure.
to
use all this.
That's fantastic.
And another thing is this thing which is called Facebook Liquidity. What is this? Is that you need to create campaigns, and in the ad set level, you need to put a different ad set in there, right? This works fantastically well. So you need to have banners, videos, and carousel type of ads in there. And Facebook, with their learning algorithm, they know whenever show video to some people, whenever to show banner, and when to show carousel ads. Right. So they know their audience, and they know the people who are into clicking videos, who are into clicking banners, and who are into clicking carousel ads. And you need to have all this into the one campaign, not create separate campaign, separate video, separate banner, etc. You need to have it within one campaign, and leave it up to Facebook to show it, to their audience. And Facebook knows much better than you do.
That's fantastic.
And this way you will increase your efficiency by really a lot.
So basically, to summarize, you create a campaign let's just say website traffic campaign, whatever. And then inside that campaign, you have 3 different ad sets. And each ad set is a video. It's a different format, basically. One is a video, the other one is just a photo, and the other one is just carousel ad, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
One thing that Facebook likes is that you don't create that many campaigns, but you keep everything within one campaign. So you can create as many ad sets as possible, and you leave it up to Facebook, leave it to their learning algorithm to decide which one to show to whom, right? So after some learning, after your learning is passed, Facebook will know, what you really want and who is really your audience. And they will learn even like whether this audience is into videos, into banners, into carousel ads. Like very few people use carousel ads, and they work like they're one of the best hacks that we use. By the way, they're one of the cheapest ways to get clicks and conversions.
That's great. That's fantastic. Are you, one kind of a side question, since we're talking about Facebook, and I guess that's the last question for today. Are you more into like mobile targeting, desktop targeting, or both?
Both, definitely. We do both. They both work. Mobile more than desktop, of course, but the tracking for desktop is better than for mobile. So,
of course,
especially on Kickstarter, you might see that you are not receiving conversions from mobile, but it's not the case. It's just a tracking thing. But definitely you need to use both. Sometimes you need to leave it up to Facebook to decide where to show it, right? Yeah.
That's great. Awesome, Narek. Well, thanks for sharing all these valuable hacks and feedback and advice. It's been great having you today. I think that if you guys like implement just one out of everything that Narek said today, one of the things, you're gonna have a super successful campaign. Again, Narek, it was great having you, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. I really wish this was useful, and I really wish there was some implementable things that people will take, use it, and get more results.
Yeah, I think it was super useful. It was really valuable. And again, thank you for being part of today's webinar. Thank you so much, guys. See you guys on the next one.